morning to everyone. I'm Chiara Martin, and during this presentation I will talk about the visual computing approach for estimating motility index in the frame ladder. This work was already presented during this year at the BSAP conference. The outline of my presentation starts with the state-of-the-art in innovation, going on with the scientific and technological objective. I will show you our methodology that achieved the result and then the future works. According to the World Bank, Italy has the second highest share of population age over 65 worldwide, and Liguria, our region, is among the highest in this ranking. Aging causes in general the reduction of the individual potential, leading to a state of vulnerability and instability of the clinical condition. And to highlight this condition, recent medical literature has introduced the notion of frail elderly, a fragile individual with an elevated risk of complication that may result in loss of functional autonomy or death. So for the reason, the accurate estimation of the frailty of an elderly is therefore an important objective to assess to the overall well-being of the patient and to predict his risk of mortality. Our aim is to design and implement a model of protected discharge in which the patient can be hosted a few days after being discharged from the hospital. The main objective is the continuous assessment of the frailty of the subject, starting from the motility assessment and the formulation of a motility index. Frailty index is defined in the literature as a parameter composed by all these measures that are functional, the capability to perform activity of daily living, cognitive, that is a reaction to stimuli and answer to questionnaire, motility, that is for risk and velocity and way of work, medication adherence and nutrition. As I told you before, we focus on the motility aspect because it is crucial to the frailty estimation. The innovation of our project with respect to the state-of-the-art consists on the automatic estimation of the frailty index. Current methods are based on manual, sporadic, and qualitative evaluation of this score with questionnaires and physical exams performed by the physician to the patient. Our new challenge is the continuous automatic and quantitative evaluation of this score with the analysis of the data coming from sensors. Another innovation is the observational time. Current literature reports study in which the patient were observed for a long period, 6 to 12 months. Our new challenge is to infer to the frailty index in a few days. Last but not least is the formulation of the motility index that allows us to compare medical qualitative analysis with our quantitative data analysis. The facility is located within the Galliera Hospital of Genoa, and it is equipped as a comfortable apartment where the patient can be monitored by a system of sensors, while physicians and nurses have the opportunity to monitor them remotely. To make the atmosphere homely, an interior design study was conducted to choose the appropriate colors, furniture, and arrangement, leading to an environment that is more similar to a regular home rather than an hospital room. Here we have the apartment plan, and we can find, two bedrooms with a private bathroom, a gym, and a common area with a kitchenette and a living room. The common area is where most of the daily activity takes place, so it's the one that hosts the majority of the sensors. In particular, you can find RGBD depth sensors that are blue rectangles, cameras, red squares, and purple squares are the passive infrared sensors with their field of view. There is also a console table equipped with some medical devices to monitor some clinical parameters. All the sensors are then wired to a central server located in the gym. Here we have some pictures of the apartment. We have the entrance, the kitchen, the living room, and one of the two bedrooms. In our work, we focus on the data coming from vision sensors, in particular cameras and RGBD depth sensor. Here I show the positioning of this sensor and their field of view. In particular, the first RGBD sensor is located in the kitchen by the sink, and this field of view is highlighted in blue in the figure, and it covers the kitchen and the table area where the patient is supposed to have breakfast, lunch, and dinner. The second RGBD sensor is located near the TV, and its field of view is highlighted in red in the figure and covers the living room. The two cameras are located in the two opposite corners of the living room, and their field of view are highlighted in green in the figure. The mutual position of the RGBD depth sensor and the cameras is intended to provide a partial overlap of the field of view while covering complementary area. This slide shows the pipeline of our monitoring system from the acquisition process to the formulation of the motility index. Video acquisition is triggered by the RGBD depth sensor, which detects the presence of an individual inside the common room. Acquired data are then stored online in the database that makes them available for future offline analysis. The first task we need to address is localization. The goal of localization is to determine at each time instant the position of the person inside the apartment. For this task, we use the information coming from the RGBD depth sensor, which provides the XYZ coordinate of the body joint. We focus on the head joint because of its stability, and analyzing the data, we are able to reconstruct the trajectory that the patient performed during his stay in the facility. And going on with the analysis, we are able to infer more complex information like his velocity or postural transfer that contribute to the formulation of the motility index. This slide shows a visual sketch of the trajectory acquired by the two RGBD depth sensor in a temporal span of 30 minutes. In particular, blue dots are referred to the RGBD sensor located in the kitchen, and red dots are referred to the RGBD located near the TV. From a first visual impression, you can see where the patient spent most of the time, like in the right corner of the table or in the rightmost part of the sofa. We can notice also that there are some holes in the acquisition, but they are covered by the cameras. Starting from localization, we can then obtain more complex information like the instantaneous velocity, the number of postural changes it has from sitting to standing and vice versa, the total time spent moving, standing still and sitting, the number of instances of work, the stop events, the longest work distance and the longest work time. All these measures has been agreed with the doctors and reflects the analysis that they perform in a manual and qualitative way. All these motility quantities are referred to the analysis of the body joints. In particular, the number of postural changes are based on the analysis of the y coordinate of the head joint. We fix a threshold, tau y, and an interval around it, defining the range of value for which the patient is supposed to be standing or sitting. It is worth noticing that these values strongly depend not only on the age of the person, but also on the environmental elements. For example, in our facility we have chairs and a sofa, so we fixed two different threshold tau y. For the number of instances of walk and stop events, we aim at identifying the time instance for which the velocity goes above or below a certain threshold tau v. Red circles are an example of this transition. When the velocity of the head joint goes below the threshold, we have stop events, and when the velocity goes above the threshold, an instance of walk begins. The other motility quantities are the total time spent moving, standing still, and sitting. And to discriminate them, we first have to discriminate if the patient is standing or sitting. So as I told you before, the patient is sitting when the y coordinate of the head joint is below the threshold tau y. So we count the number of observations for which this condition is true. As the patient is standing, so we now have to discriminate if the patient is standing still or walking. So we look at the velocity of the head joint and if it is above or below the threshold tau v. Here there is an example on how we recognize these motility quantities. For example, walking is characterized by high value of y and high value of v. Standing still is characterized by high value of y but low value of v, and sitting is characterized by low value of y and v. Then we formulate the motility index as follows, where the first term is the inactivity time, while the second one is the dynamic one. We look at the total time spent sitting and standing still versus the total time of observation, the number of postural changes, the number of instance of work, and the stop events. Alpha is a parameter to weight the two terms, and C is a factor that makes the second terms numerically comparable to the first one. Motility index takes value between 0 and 1, approaching 1 when the motility of the subject is not satisfactory. The dataset we consider in our experimental analysis is composed of 2 batches of data acquired with the help of 10 volunteers. The first batch is used for validating the system, and the second batch to test its performances. The first batch includes 5 young volunteers, 3 male and 2 female, mean age 27, who spent at least 3 days in the facility alone or in pairs. The second batch is used to perform our experimental analysis, and is used for it is composed of 5 healthy elder subjects, 3 male and 2 female, mean age 72.4, would spend at least 2 hours in the facility alone. During their stay, the subject has no constraint, and they were free to perform daily life activity in the facility. And clinical tests were performed, and data were collected by the sensor and then analyzed. Tables show a summary of the quantitative analysis we performed on 5 annotated sequences of young volunteers. In particular, I reported all the motility quantities that contribute to the motility index and the motility index itself. We can see how subject number 2 spent most of the time sitting, about 73% of the total time of observation, so his motility index is very high. Conversely, the dynamism of subject number 4 is higher. He spent most of the time moving around the apartment, and his motility index is lower. As I told you before, motility index takes value between 0 and 1, approaching 1 when the motility of the subject is not satisfactory. Here we can compare our annotated results and the automatic assessment. We can see that there is a coherence between the 2 tables. In particular, our estimated in terms of percentage of time spent standing still is very coherent with the automatic result. The same for the sitting time and for the moving time. In addition, motility index show a result that is very much in line with the reported MPI. In particular, subject number 1 is the healthier, while subject number 5 is the weaker. So we can say that motility index could effectively increment and enrich the frailty estimation. In the meanwhile, we have integrated our existing dataset with other 20 healthy elder volunteers and 10 young volunteers. We also aim at including some frail elder volunteers, but it's not so easy. We have to fight with the physician. And for the future, we will investigate other state-of-the-art strategies for the motility evaluation, like the posture and the balance evaluation. We will infer more complex activities through the integration of the data coming from different sensors. And we aim at explore other quantities related to the frailty estimation, like the cognitive capability of the patient and his degree of awareness and state of anxiety. That's all.
Questions for? Yes?
Few curiosities, like the gym, in my opinion, should have the most amount of sensors because people are supposed to exercising, so you understand their physical abilities while they exercise. But it seems like you put no sensor in the gym.
No, because the gym is now not in use.
Okay.
For now, there is only the server inside, but we are looking to provide some.
Was it an accident? It wasn't a decision.
Rehabilitation and exercises, but by now this is out of use, so we don't need to.
You put a Linux system in there, in the gym.
What?
You should put a Linux system in the gym.
Yes, yes, I should.
Yeah, in fact, if I may add something, it's like considering two different aspects. So for the time being, the gym is not even used by physicians, and as they will start using it, we will come up with some more specific analysis. Here we're talking about observing people as they are living their normal lives. So I would say it will be like a complementary type of analysis that will need to be carried out.
Can you say something about how you spread the cameras around in the apartment? How did you decide where to put what camera?
So we put the camera in a way that we can look at the most important part of the apartment, that is the common room, the common area, and putting them in the two opposite corners, we are able to cover, I think, all the.
So you did it by reason. I mean, you didn't do any statistical analysis beforehand to know
No,
that this is
no.
the best position to put the camera.
And in fact, I think that we did it wrong. If I may answer. Yeah, we got it. I think that we need to answer.
But now take your data and analyze it with the camera.
Yeah, yes. Maybe I'll be more than moving. Because we like the two, but today it's not sufficient.
Maybe I didn't catch it, but before processing, since you have multi cameras and systems, you integrate, so you have real coordinates to establish sit, stand up, or you process each camera separately.
We look for understanding if the person is standing or sitting. We look at the data coming from the RGBD depth sensors. Cameras are used just for validating if we are doing in the right way.
Okay, so you process each camera separately. You don't integrate in an absolute reference.
Yes,
system.
we have a reference.
Between one RGBD sensor to the other, you have a global idea of what.
Yes.
I saw in the when you put the image with the positions of the head with from the pinets, you had edges between the points. Is this related to predatory or is something that you calculate that way?
I don't understand which one.
The one with the blue and red dots. Yeah, like lines. There were lines between the points. Is that related to the trajectory that at one point becomes after
Yes.
nothing, let's say, process afterwards? And have you?
Oh, no, this
Yeah, this
Yeah,
one,
the-
this
the
one, this
slides.
one, this one.
Yeah, it's like related with the tracking procedure. It's a little smoothing out.
And have you checked if there is some kind of discordance between in the overlapping areas? You should obtain the head position for both of them.
Yes.
So there would be a red and a blue point. Have you checked if there are deviations between the positions from both kinects or not?
Yeah, I may answer to this. We originally, so that if you notice, the overlap is actually quite small, and in fact, this is the reason why registering them in the common reference view is actually quite hard. Depending, so here it is not apparent, but there is an ideal view depending on in this very small overlapping area. We trust more measurements depending on the subpart coming from one view or another. So in fact, there is some error in particular. This part is very, very noisy when observed from this point. When you try to just trust the other count. Yeah, we do a little analysis. Otherwise, we take the average.
I'd be interested to know more about the RGB camera. It wasn't Connect.
It was made.
Okay. And was there a reason that you went for that particular model?
I don't know.
Connect is dead. It's out.
Connect is dead.
It's out. So
Other production.
Yeah. When we actually made the choice for the census was made, there were people in our group that are more specifically working on that, and they made that decision based on SDK, maintenance, and everything, and they were happy with this one.
So it's easy to write code to
Yeah.
contain the data.
But none of us an expert on that.
Okay, so thank you all. And